I cropped the overdue notice out before I posted the photo. 2 fingers on the screen. Pinch in, slide left, keep Harper's sleeping face in the frame, hide the white corner of paper behind her hair. The kitchen still looked rough, cereal bowl in the sink, juice box sweating on the counter, electric bill curling beside the toaster. I pushed the brightness until everything turned warm and forgiving. The caption took longer. Magic doesn't need perfection. Just love, patience, and a few paper lanterns. I hit post before I could start hating every word. Likes came fast. A mother from Newport sent 3 hearts. A woman I had met once at a holiday market asked whether Little Lantern Events was still booking for the Seaside Family Coast Fair. Absolutely. I typed. Then I opened my banking app. $214.08. Before I could close it, a notification dropped across the top of the screen. Nora's party supply, final reminder. No additional inventory released until past balance is paid. Another followed. Storage access suspension warning. I swiped both away and set the phone face down. Across the hall, Ellis coughed in his sleep. Milo kicked the wall once and went still again. The apartment hummed around me. Refrigerator, cheap ring light balanced on cookbooks, rain tapping the kitchen window like it wanted to be let in. One of the paper lanterns over the table had started to sag. The damp had softened the bottom edge until it curled inward. I stood on a chair and smoothed it with 2 fingers. People thought Little Lantern was bigger than it was. That was the work. Warm bulbs. Tight angles. Smiling children with glue sticks. Mothers crying over memory boards. Couples kissing under beach lanterns at sunset. Nobody photographed invoices. Nobody photographed me reheating the same coffee 3 times because I kept forgetting to drink it. My phone buzzed again. Blake had reacted to my text with a thumbs up. School fees are due Friday. I also need help with aftercare this month. Thumbs up. I typed, that's it. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then left me with nothing. I opened the fair contract on my laptop. End of August. The biggest event Little Lantern had ever been offered. If I pulled it off, the business could stop looking like a hobby with debts. Sponsors. New clients. Real deposits. Something I could point to when people smiled too carefully and asked how I was managing. The budget spreadsheet looked worse each time I opened it. I clicked Adrian's website before I let myself think better of it. Warren Child Development Center. Soft blue. Clean fonts. Photos of sensory rooms and tiny chairs. Adrian, kneeling beside a child, looked calm in every picture. People trusted him before he said a word. It had always been that way. He walked through rooms like the world had already checked his references. My thumb hovered over his name. I could hear him if I asked directly. Careful. Kind in a way that already meant no. Celeste. I locked the phone. Asking made things negotiable. My father kept oranges in a crystal bowl nobody was allowed to eat. They sat in the middle of his dining table, bright and polished, while the real fruit in the refrigerator vanished by Wednesday. When I was 13, I asked why he bought oranges just to look at them. Because it makes the house look welcoming, Victor said. I understood him too well. He opened his front door before I knocked. Retirement cards covered the piano behind him. Someone from the marina had sent flowers, though the party wasn't until Saturday. There she is, he said, kissing the air beside my cheek. My busiest girl. The house smelled of cedar polish and burnt coffee. I dropped my purse on a chair. You look tired, he said. In our family that meant, tell me what you need. 3 clients changed themes this week, I said. One decided hydrangeas were emotionally manipulative. Victor snorted and poured me coffee in a chipped mug. What's really going on? I wrapped both hands around the mug and didn't drink. Adrian's been weird. His mouth tightened. Weird how? He acts like helping me is some huge burden now. I mentioned using the center for Sunday workshops. Families, crafts, nothing intense. The place is empty on weekends. Did he say no? Not yet. I picked at the chipped handle. He did that thing where he turns every sentence into a policy. Victor leaned back. He forgets where he came from. Relief moved through me before I could stop it. He's always been like that once he's comfortable, Victor said. People who don't panic think panic is bad planning. Outside, gulls cried somewhere near the water. I stared at the crystal oranges. He won't refuse in front of people, Victor added. I looked up. At the party. Bring it up casually. Family will be there. Community people. He won't want to look cold. I don't want to ambush him. Victor gave me the look he used when I was being dramatic. You're not asking him to hide a body. Your brother runs a child therapy center. You run family workshops. It fits. I smiled because he made it sound clean. My eyes went to the hallway, and suddenly I was 17 again. The blue dress hung from the pantry door in a plastic bag, satin with beads around the waist. Not designer. Just expensive enough to hurt. I can't wear that, I whispered. Victor stood with his arms folded. Why not? Because everybody knows I can't afford it. Upstairs, Adrian practiced scales on a borrowed keyboard, thin notes coming through the ceiling. My father opened the kitchen drawer, took out the envelope Adrian had been filling for months, and peeled back the flap. He'll survive, he said. I stood there while he counted the money. The part that stayed with me was not guilt. It was how quickly the room made sense once somebody else called it fair. Back in Victor's dining room, he touched my wrist. Family steps in when someone's drowning, he said. By Saturday evening, Victor's backyard smelled of grilled salmon, wet grass, and citronella. I hung peach lanterns along the fence and photographed them from high enough that no one would see the rust on the patio chairs. Mom, Harper said beside me, Milo put his hot dog in the birdbath. Fantastic. Was that sarcasm? Advanced sarcasm. She gave me a small smile and went back to her brothers. Retirement parties made people sentimental. Sentimental people booked events. I posted a photo of the lanterns to my story, then turned toward the yard. Victor stood near the drink table, shaking hands like he had been elected mayor of a country with 12 houses. Aunt Miriam sat beneath the cedar tree, watching over a paper cup. She had a way of looking at people that made them check their zippers. Celeste, one of Victor's friends called, "You still doing those family workshops?" Busier than ever, I said. Then Adrian came through the side gate. I noticed the quiet way he entered, one hand still on the latch, damp hair from the mist. Harper saw him and ran. Uncle Adrian. He bent and caught her before she crashed into him. Easy. Automatic. Children trusted him the way dogs trusted certain people. There's our hero, I called. Heads turned. Adrian looked at me over Harper's shoulder. Not suspicious yet. Alert. Victor clapped him on the back. My son finally arrives. I moved closer with Milo tucked against my hip and raised my glass. Actually, this is perfect timing, I said. I didn't want to announce it online before family heard. Phones lowered. Conversations thinned. The Sunday workshops are expanding this fall. I smiled at Adrian like we had planned it together. And Adrian is letting Little Lantern use the center every Sunday morning so more families can come. Victor started clapping first. A few relatives joined. Someone said, "That's wonderful." I kept smiling. It makes sense, I added. He spends all week around finger paint and toy trains anyway. Laughter flickered around the tables. Adrian did not laugh. The applause faded by pieces. Harper stepped away from him. Adrian lowered his hands to his sides. You should have asked me first. The yard quieted enough for me to hear a lantern scraping the fence. I laughed fast. Don't make it formal. I mean it. It's 4 hours on Sundays. Families doing crafts. Nobody's asking for a kidney. Victor lifted his glass. Family helping family. There are liability issues, Adrian said. The paperwork speech, I said, and a cousin snorted into his beer. Good. A room only needed a little push. I shouldn't have assumed you'd want to help mothers and kids unless a waiver was involved, I said. A few faces tightened. Adrian looked at me, then at Victor. My workplace isn't Celeste's backup venue. You've gotten cold, Victor said. No, Adrian said. I've gotten careful. Something sharp moved through me. Careful of what? Glitter glue? People assuming my work belongs to them. Aunt Miriam set her cup down. That sounds fair. I turned toward her. Excuse me? You announced his building before he answered. It was a conversation. No, Adrian said. It wasn't. Victor pointed at him with his whiskey hand. She's your sister. And that's my workplace. You don't even use half the rooms on Sundays, I snapped. That doesn't make them yours. The words landed like a lock turning. I felt the yard changing. People had stopped reacting and started thinking. That was when control slipped. I reached for the old handle. I didn't realize boundaries mattered more to you than family. Victor nodded. There it is. Aunt Miriam kept watching Adrian. Waiting. He exhaled and looked at me with a tired calm I wanted to slap off his face. This isn't your stage, Celeste, he said. For once, I had no next line. Adrian walked to the folding table by the pool and set down a blue folder. Just paper. Still, my stomach dropped. Victor frowned. What's that? That depends, Adrian said. Do we want the honest version, or the party version? Nobody answered. He opened the folder and slid the first sheet toward Victor. Storage contract. My name. Adrian's signature under guarantor. Victor stared. The warehouse? The one little lantern uses. You offered to help, I said. I did. Another page. Nora's invoice, past due in red. Advertising charges. Equipment rentals. Late fees. A spreadsheet of neat, ugly numbers. The backyard went still. Even my boys sounded far away near the dessert table. What is all this? Victor asked. What keeping Little Lantern afloat has cost me for 2 years, Adrian said. You're making it sound accurate. Heat climbed my neck. Half of those were temporary. Most temporary things don't last 26 months. Nora's balance. Balloon supplier. Sponsored posts I had told myself were investments. Deposits Adrian had covered when I cried in my car and said I only needed a bridge. Victor looked at me. You never said it was this bad. I'm handling it. Adrian finally looked at me. You're surviving it with other people's signatures. For 1 second I was back at the pantry door, Victor counting Adrian's savings while music thinned through the ceiling. He'll survive. The memory came with anger attached. You act like I forced you, I said. You made every boundary sound cruel. That's not force. No, Aunt Miriam said. But it spends the same. Victor slapped the table. Enough. This family doesn't abandon each other. Adrian pulled out one last page. Notice of guarantor withdrawal. 60 days. The words blurred, then sharpened. You can't do that before the fair, I said. I'm doing it now so you have time to reduce contracts. Shrink publicly? That would look great. Aunt Miriam's mouth tightened. Victor leaned over the table. You're humiliating her. Adrian kept his eyes on me. She announced my building in front of 50 people. That's different, I said. How? Because helping me was not supposed to have edges. Because his silence had become a room I stored things in. Adrian closed the folder. I'm not abandoning you, he said. I'm stepping out from underneath you. At 1:13 in the morning, I posted a photo of Harper sleeping. The hallway light curved across her cheek. One hand was tucked beneath her face. Innocent worked better when it didn't look posed. I wrote 3 captions and deleted them. People only love struggling mothers when the struggle stays pretty. Delete. Funny how family disappears when you need them. Delete. Finally. Some betrayals don't come from strangers. My children and I will keep going. We always do. Not exactly a lie. That mattered more than it should have. The comments came fast. You're so strong. Single moms carry everything. People never understand until they walk in our shoes. Relief spread through me, small and poisonous. Aunt Miriam commented 15 minutes later. Children deserve privacy too. I almost deleted it. Instead I muted her. Rain tapped the windows. My laptop glowed from the coffee table, the fair budget open like a dare. 60 days. I opened Adrian's text thread. You embarrassed me. Delete. Dad is devastated. Delete. I hope you're happy. Delete. None of them sounded strong enough. Harper's bedroom door creaked open. She padded out in pajama pants, rubbing one eye. You're awake? I asked. You were typing loud. Sorry. She climbed onto the couch beside me. Warm skin, sharp elbows, sleep still in her hair. Are you mad at Uncle Adrian? I scrolled instead of looking at her. Adults disagree. He looked sad. Outside, a car hissed along the wet street. Is he still coming to my recital? Children were dangerous that way. They walked past the story and touched the bruise. Of course, I said. Then, because I could not leave it alone, unless he's too busy. Harper went quiet. Not upset. Just filing it away. I checked the post again. More hearts. More strangers telling me I was brave. In 60 days, none of them would pay the warehouse bill. I spent those 60 days proving I was fine. That was how I described it then. I booked the fare package bigger instead of smaller. I promised a lantern tunnel, memory boards, a coastal craft tent, a parent-child photo corner, and 3 rounds of sponsored giveaways. I told myself visibility mattered. I told myself the money would come after the deposit cleared, after Blake paid something, after one more weekend, after one more post. Nora stopped smiling when I walked into her shop 4 days before the fair. Paper lanterns turned slowly in the air conditioning overhead, red, gold, blue, all the colors I needed stacked above me and out of reach. I just need the last shipment, I said. Floral lanterns and folding arches. Nora set down her pricing gun. I can't release anything else. Nora. You owe me $6,000. A woman near the fake flowers glanced over. I lowered my voice. The fair payment clears afterward. You said that before the spring market. That was different. You've had a lot of different. I touched a string of battery lights. We've worked together for years. Yes, she said. Because Adrian vouched for you. His name again, standing where my credit should have been. He doesn't even use your store. No. But he pays his invoices. I looked away. Nora's voice softened, which made it worse. You're talented, Celeste. Talent isn't coverage. I left without the lanterns. Rain had started by the time I reached the storage facility. Mist drifted sideways through the parking lot. I punched my gate code. Access denied. I tried again. Slower. Then harder. Daniel, the facility manager, came out under the awning with a clipboard. Morning, Celeste. System glitch? Not exactly. He shifted his weight. The guarantor withdrawal triggered a review. The fair is in 4 days. I know. I need my inventory. I need payment. Payment. Balance. Overdue. Words that all meant no. I glanced through the chain link fence at Unit 44. 12 years of folded tables, lantern crates, fake ivy, signs, fabric runners. An entire business trapped behind a keypad. My phone rang. Blake. For one stupid second, I hoped. Hey, I said. You still got Harper this weekend? He asked over music and traffic. What? I might head to Bend with Kayla. The fair is this weekend. Right. Damn. A pause. So that's a no. I hung up. Daniel studied the wet pavement. I called Adrian. Voicemail. Again. Again. On the 4th try he answered. Celeste. You locked me out? I warned you this could happen. You detonated my business. You had 60 days. I had children. A pause. Those aren't the same thing. The rain worked under my collar. Maybe you like this. Everybody gets to see I can fail. No. Then help me. Silence. Clean, practiced, terrible. The kids are going to see this collapse. Don't use them to negotiate with me. You'd rather see your nieces and nephews at an empty booth than admit you're being cruel? I'd rather they see one adult tell the truth. The line went dead. Daniel let me sit in the office because the rain had turned hard. The authorization form lay on his desk 3 inches from my hand. Authorized access approval. Below the blank line was an old scanned signature from Adrian, printed on a copy of last year's access form. Neat. Certain. Easy. Daniel went to the back room to check something, which meant he wanted to give me privacy and keep me where he could see me. Bad decisions did not arrive loudly. They came as a form, a pen, a tired woman, and 4 days until everyone knew. My phone lit up. A client asked whether the lantern tunnel was still included. The fair coordinator wrote, "We're excited to feature Little Lantern as one of this year's community highlights." Then Blake's truck pulled in. Harper climbed out before he finished parking, her sweatshirt held over her head. Mom. Blake stayed in the truck. Harper reached the office door and looked at the clipboard in my hand. Why are we here? Work stuff. Did they close it? No. You're upset. I'm handling it. She looked again at the form. At Adrian's printed name. Are you using Uncle Adrian's signature? It's paperwork. You look weird. I almost snapped. Instead I stood too fast. Across the lot, Blake cracked his window. You good? I gotta go. Harper kept watching me. Rain dripped off her sleeves. Is the fair cancelled? She asked. There it was. The thing I could not let happen. Parents packing up, whispers, pity dressed as kindness. She seemed so capable. No, I said. Harper relaxed. She still believed me. That hurt worse than doubt. My phone buzzed with a new comment under the old post. Strong mothers always find a way. I stared at it until the words became permission. Then I picked up the pen. Mom? Harper said. I signed Adrian's name. Carefully. That was the part one remembered later. How steady my hand looked. Daniel's eyes flicked to the signature when I handed him the form. Then to me. He knew enough. You'll have access for today, he said. The gate buzzed open with a heavy metal click. Relief hit so hard my knees went soft. Solved. The fair could still happen. The lanterns could still glow. Harper slipped her damp hand into mine. Without looking at me, she asked, "Did Uncle Adrian say yes this time?" The gate kept rolling open. I did not answer. By noon on fair day, the ground smelled of wet plywood and burnt espresso. Rain fell sideways off the coast, soaking banner edges and turning the grass to mud. Volunteers carried extension cords over their heads. Children in rain boots jumped in puddles while parents pretended to mind. Little lanterns still looked beautiful. The tunnel glowed gold under the tent. Ribbons moved in the wind. Families stopped to take photos before the event officially opened. "Looks incredible, Celeste. You pulled it off. The kids are obsessed." I smiled until my cheeks ached. Harper stood at the registration table sorting sticker packets. Every few minutes she glanced over, checking whether I was still holding together. I hated that she had learned to do that. Nora arrived just after 1 in a dark raincoat. Adrian walked beside her with the blue folder under his arm. The field narrowed. Nora stopped in front of the lantern tunnel. "We need to talk." I kept my customer smile on. "Can it wait until after setup?" "No." Vendors nearby slowed. A father holding a toddler pretended to read the craft schedule. Nora held up a printed email in a clear plastic sleeve. I received authorization from Adrian approving warehouse release. And? Adrian says he never sent it. Rain ticked against the tent roof. I laughed softly. This is insane. Adrian looked at me. You signed my name. Not a question. You left me with no choice. There was a choice. Easy for you to say. You don't understand pressure. Aunt Miriam stepped under the tent, umbrella dripping. Yes, he does. He stopped handing it to other people. Victor arrived breathless from crossing the field. What's going on? Nora held the form toward him. His eyes moved over the signature, to Adrian, then to me. For the first time in my life, my father did not step in. No speech. No joke. No making the problem smaller. Just Victor, looking tired. People gathered near the booth. Parents. Vendors. Volunteers. Strangers pretending not to listen. An audience. My oldest reflex rose. You came here to do this publicly? I asked Adrian. In front of children? You made it public when you used my name. You abandoned us. Several heads turned. You knew this fair mattered to the kids. Adrian's face tightened. This fair mattered to you. The sentence struck harder than if he had shouted. I looked toward Harper. She stood very still with sticker sheets in both hands. Adrian asked, "Did you sign my name, Celeste?" Everything narrowed to that. I saw the path. One sentence, and the story would change. I could say yes. I could give the crowd my actual face. I could let the booth fail, let the parents leave, let Harper hear the truth from me instead of from the space where my answer should have been. The truth sat in my mouth. Small. Plain. Survivable, maybe. Then I saw the pity already forming. I saw the fair coordinator's smile fold shut. I saw Nora's ledger, Victor's disappointment, Harper's confusion. I saw myself becoming the woman everyone had always suspected I might be. I lifted my chin. You wanted me to fail, I said. Not an answer. Everyone heard that it wasn't one. By evening, the rain softened into mist. The fair emptied without drama. People drifted away from the little lantern booth with the careful politeness they used around funerals and public breakups. Nora took her inventory list and left. Aunt Miriam guided my boys toward the food trucks and touched Harper's shoulder as she passed. Victor stood beside me for almost a full minute. Finally he said, "You should have told me." Not "you shouldn't have done it." Not "are you okay?" Just that. I laughed under my breath. Now you care about honesty? His jaw tightened. That's not fair. Fair. I watched Adrian across the field helping volunteers unplug extension cords. Someone handed him a box. Someone else asked him a question, and he nodded. The world kept making room for him. Harper came back holding a wet paper lantern with one side caved in. "Mom," she said, "where should I put this?" I looked at the lantern. Soft tissue clinging to bent wire, still trying to keep its shape. "Just leave it." Her face changed for a second. She set it beside the booth and walked away. Strangers only took what I showed them. My children carried the rest. I drove to Unit 44 alone after the last bin was packed. I told myself I needed to check for water damage. Really, there was nowhere else to go that still felt partly mine. The unit smelled of wet cardboard and dust. Water had seeped under the door during the storm. Boxes leaned against one another, softened at the bottom. One collapsed when I touched it, spilling paper lanterns across the concrete floor. I sat among them without turning on the light. My phone lit my hands blue-white. Notifications still came, but fewer now. "Hope you're doing okay." There are two sides to every story. Praying for your family. Thin little offerings. No money. No warehouse code. No brother on the other end of the line. I opened Instagram. People will judge a struggling mother faster than they'll question a calm man with money. Delete. Families love you until helping costs them something. Delete. Finally. No matter what gets taken from us, mothers keep building light for their children. I attached an old photo from last summer. Lanterns glowing gold. Harper laughing. Me smiling at the camera like nothing beneath the picture could rot. I posted it. Then I waited. 3 likes came in. Then nothing. Water dripped somewhere in the dark. Around me, the lanterns lay open and soft, their wires bent, their paper ruined by weather they had never been made to survive. For the first time in years, nobody was coming to hold them up for me.